Oh, we have some amazing titles about the things Mr. Davis shared with me. Just imagine this. Detroit, 1998. The opera house was packed. Velvet seats filled with important people, singers, producers, all gathered to honor the Queen of Soul. But backstage, the tension hung in the air like a knife. Aretha Franklin was sitting in the dressing room, silent, regal, and clearly angry. The cause was a name in the program she had never approved. She calmly finished applying her makeup, looked straight into her assistant's eyes, and said, "If he sings tonight, I'm leaving." The event had to be rearranged. Panic swept through the hall. Aretha didn't need a microphone to command the entire room. Just one look, one word, one pause. For decades, she stayed silent about the ego, the backstabbing, and the betrayal. But in her later years, the Queen of Soul began to name names. These were not petty quarrels. These were deep wounds, and the first on her list was a woman who once tried to take her crown, Beyoncé. The comments sparked a royal feud. This event was meant to be a tribute, a celebration of two icons sharing a stage. At the 2008 Grammy Awards, Beyoncé took the mic to introduce legendary singer Tina Turner. With a radiant smile and a commanding presence, she declared, "Tina, the Queen!" The crowd erupted in applause, but somewhere across the country, another queen sat in silence. Aretha Franklin. For most people, it was just a harmless compliment. But for Aretha, who had spent over 4 decades earning the title Queen of Soul, it felt like a direct challenge. For her, the crown was not just a nickname. It was a legacy built through gospel roots, civil rights performances, and unparalleled vocal ability. Hearing someone else give it to her, even if from another genre, wasn't just careless, it was disrespectful. Within hours, Aretha made a rare public statement. She didn't mention Beyoncé directly, but the tone was unmistakable. She called the remark a joke and disrespectful, sending shockwaves through the music world. Some fans saw it as the actions of a diva, but those close to Aretha understood better. This was not just about ego. It was about erasing history. Aretha had fought for her place in a world that often sought to silence black women. And now, a younger artist, who grew up idolizing her, is rewriting that story without any consent at all. From that moment on, Aretha made it clear that she would not attend events led by Beyoncé, wouldn't share the bill, wouldn't take photos with her, and in private, she held nothing back. Friends say that Aretha called her a talented girl, but one who forgot to bow. But that was just the beginning, because the next name on her list was not just a competitor. He used to be my friend, until one night, he humiliated her on national television. Ray Charles, a duet that would never happen again. In the mid-1970s, anticipation spread throughout the studio. Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles, two legends of soul music, had scheduled a once-in-a-lifetime live duet on national television. The network promoted this event as a historic moment. The rehearsal went smoothly, respectfully, and even joyfully. They laughed, shared stories, and harmonized effortlessly. Everyone was expecting magic. But when the cameras started rolling, everything changed. Ray, who was always improvising, began to stray from the agreed-upon plan. The duet that was supposed to be tight and elegant turned into a musical minefield. Aretha, a seasoned performer, tried to adjust in real time, but the performance quickly lost its balance. To the casual viewer, it looked spontaneous. But to Aretha, it seemed calculated. Off camera, Ray was reportedly chuckling with the producer, saying, "She's wonderful, but not nimble." Just that one comment changed everything. Aretha was furious. She had built her career on calmness, control, and mastery. Being publicly mocked like that, especially by someone she admired, was not just disrespectful. It was humiliating. She never performed with Ray again. Not on television, not on tour, not even in private meetings. Although she never directly addressed the issue, insiders say she told friends that he tried to turn a duet into a solo act and made her the punchline of his joke. For Aretha, it was not just a chaotic musical moment. It was a personal betrayal. The man she once called brother had turned her spotlight into a farce. And the next musician on her list, he didn't show off. He used words, sharp words. Luther Vandross was a gifted writer. The studio clash got worse. In the early 1980s, Aretha Franklin was preparing for a spectacular comeback. The Queen of Soul is ready to remind the world why she wears the crown, and Clive Davis is the perfect man to lead her. Luther Vandross is an English songwriter. Young, talented, and making waves as a producer, Vandross is known for his smooth harmonies and keen ear. At first, the match seems very exciting. Arthur brings the fire, Luther brings the finesse. But quickly, the spark turns to smoke. Luther is a perfectionist. He wants every note polished, every phrase sculpted. In contrast, Arthur acts purely on instinct. She sings from her feelings, not from a blueprint. At first, the tension is subtle, with murmured comments and long takes, but it escalates quickly. The breaking point comes one late evening. Luther reportedly turned to Arthur, his voice filled with disappointment, and said, "Stop singing." "Be quiet." Arthur stood up, looked him in the eye, and said, "No one can tell the Queen how to make rain." She walked away just like that. The album Jumped to It was eventually completed and became a hit. But the energy behind it was radioactive. Every harmony hid a controversy. Every take was a tug of war. They never worked together again. And Arthur never forgot. When alone, she spoke plainly. He makes great music, but writing songs is very difficult. To outsiders, this tension is just creative conflict. But for Arthur, it runs deeper. The issue is respect and disrespect. However, that tension still felt light compared to what happened next. Because the next artist, he didn't challenge her in the studio. He tried to erase her legacy with just one quote. Keith Richards, the insult heard around the world. In 2007, Keith Richards, the guitar legend, rock icon, and provocateur, gave an interview to Rolling Stone to celebrate decades of music history. But when the conversation turned to modern soul, his answer shocked even longtime fans. "Soul died with Otis Redding," he said nonchalantly. "Arthur is still here, but everything." A denial of a lifetime of work, her art, and her lasting relevance. And worse, that comment came from someone who witnessed her revolutionize the genre from the front row. Arthur did not stay silent. In a rare radio interview shortly after, she responded with her trademark mix of grace and bitterness. Some confuse loud guitar with depth. God bless him. This saying has become legendary, but behind the scenes, Arthur is boiling with anger. She feels hurt by a man who has walked alongside her throughout his entire career, often in her shadow. She has performed longer, topped more charts, and won more Grammy Awards than the Rolling Stones ever did. Yet, here is Keith, reducing her to a mere footnote. Below, a man who has lost 4 decades. Insiders say she has banned any mention of the Stones in her later appearances, refusing every co-hosting invitation, turning down any award ceremonies where Richards was also honored. She never shared billing with the Stones, never spoke his name again. For Aretha, her legacy is not a game. It is something sacred, deserving of respect and a fight to uphold. But the next artist tried to twist it that way. Dionne Warwick. The funeral film reignited old flames. In 2017, Aretha Franklin had to battle an illness that could weaken her legendary strength. She limited her public appearances, conserving energy and carefully choosing her battles. But then a headline emerged that made her blood boil. Dionne Warwick. Another legend, another diva, another veteran of the golden era, made a profound comment at Whitney Houston's funeral 5 years ago. She stated that Aretha was expected to perform, but she did not show up. What she didn't mention was that Aretha couldn't attend due to health reasons. Swollen feet, emotionally drained, and overwhelming grief kept her at home. To the world. Dionne's remark sounded like a mere footnote. To Aretha, it was a slap in the face. At that time, she remained silent. But many years later, in 2017, she released a lengthy 5-page letter to the Associated Press, something she almost never did. The letter held nothing back. She accused Dionne of flat-out lying, creating drama, and exploiting the sacred event to stir up rumors. This was not surprising. The feud between these two icons had simmered for decades. Silent punches, backstage tension, cold attitudes at memorial services. But Aretha had reached her breaking point. She ended the letter with a single line that became a headline across the industry. Dionne knew what she had done. No further comments, no explanations, just a dagger wrapped in velvet gloves. After that, the feud was officially buried. Not with forgiveness, but with determination. Because when Aretha said she was done, she truly meant it. And the next name on her list, he had not bothered her at a funeral. He had overshadowed her right inside her home. Detroit City. Eminem. The local boy who never showed any love. Aretha Franklin didn't just live in Detroit. She was Detroit, with its churches, record shops, and soul music clubs. Her voice echoed from the streets and became the heartbeat of the city. She always gave back, organizing charity concerts, mentoring young artists, and promoting her hometown everywhere around the world. So, when Eminem suddenly appeared on the global stage in the early 2000s, becoming the face of a new generation from Detroit, Aretha expected at least a nod, a mention, a sample, or something like that. But that never happened. In every song, Eminem referenced hip-hop legends, rock icons, even local Detroit folks, but he never mentioned Aretha, not once, to the fans. This might seem like a harmless oversight, but for Aretha, it was something completely different. A slight. She broke barriers in an industry that wasn't meant for her. She paved the way not just for women, but for every artist from Detroit who wanted to prove something, including him. Insiders recall a moment at a private dinner when someone brought up Eminem's fame. It's said that Aretha leaned back, shook her head, and said, "He knows who I am. He just chooses not to care." And when asked in later interviews what she thought of his lyrics, she replied with just one word that said it all: noise. No arguments, no public hostility, just a quiet and everlasting silence. Because if Aretha blessed, it meant something, and if she withheld it, that meant something too. But the betrayal ultimately didn't come from a rock musician or a rapper. That voice came from a man at a piano with a smile on his face. Billy Joel, a duet that died before it could even be born. Aretha Franklin had long admired Billy Joel from afar. She respected his songwriting talent, his ability to draw a crowd, and his genuine love for the musical legacy. He was one of the few modern artists she believed had a deep reverence for the classics and the legends who came before him. So, when the idea of a joint concert came up in the early 2000s, Aretha felt excited. The event was set up as a celebration of soul and piano-led pop music, a meeting of two great musical artists. She agreed to participate in the first rehearsal, cautiously optimistic that their chemistry would pay off, but it didn't. Right from the start, she felt something was off. Billy was friendly, but too superficial. His jokes felt a bit dismissive. During a short break, he was said to have laughed and said, "Come on, relax. Have a drink of whiskey and lighten the mood." Aretha didn't. She never drank alcohol. She dedicated her entire career to earning respect without ever losing her sharpness. That comment was not just insensitive, it was truly offensive. She quietly stood up, packed her things, and walked out of the rehearsal. No loud outburst, no dramatic exit, just silence and the sound of the piano lid slamming shut. That weekend, a close friend heard her say, "He plays the piano like a poet, but talks like a fool." The concert was quietly cancelled. No press release, no further information, and from that day on, the name Billy Joel disappeared from her orbit. No invitations, no duets, no appearances together, because for Aretha, respect was the music that lay within the music, and once that was lost, the relationship was gone too. Why has Aretha remained silent until now? For decades. Aretha Franklin let her music speak for her. She was the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the voice behind the songs Respect, Natural Woman, and Chain of Fools. But behind each high note is a story, a conflict, and a silence she chose to keep until now. Because at 76, when death is near, the crown of a legend must also be burned. And sometimes the most powerful hymn is when the final names are called. Which name shocked you the most? Do you think Aretha was right to hold on to this grudge? Or is that just the price of greatness? Let us know below. Because while the Queen may have left us, her voice still resonates.